This is an 8-iron, and it's a dead shank. Wow. Way right.
Oh,
Takes a hop off the path.
You got to be kidding me. Very tough pitch shot right here. You got to hit it into the hill. One hop up and bite, and it's in.
Kind of like that.
Well, I would like to welcome a former All-American from the University of Georgia, winner on the Canadian PGA Tour, played in Palmer Cup, Walker Cup, hell of a good guy, and he's turned into a good friend. It's a pleasure to have Lee McCoy on the Sub 70 podcast. Pro, thanks for doing this, my man.
It is a pleasure to be here. I'm honored somebody wants to talk to me about golf. It's been a minute.
Well, shit. I mean, a lot of history to talk about, a lot of stuff we're going forward with. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start off with the wrist surgery. And that thing's been a problem for a while. So, for the people who don't know, where's that at? You had to have a surgery. When's the comeback, time frame for recovery? And the other question as a follow-up is, how long do you think this thing has truly not been right since, has it been since the accident, or how long has it been a struggle for?
Yeah, so I had my first surgery. I broke my scaphoid, and I had my first surgery about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. Didn't heal up well. It's just a bone that doesn't like to heal. Had to go back and have another surgery once I realized it just wasn't going to be right and the x-rays weren't looking good. Second surgery didn't go well either. Everything was misaligned, and then I found out that I had a torn ligament that nobody had noticed. So for anybody that's been watching me play the last year and a half, it's been with a broken scaphoid and a torn ligament. And I just kind of thought, from what I was told from these different surgeons, that it was just a bunch of scar tissue and, time would heal and it wasn't getting any better. So third surgery just happened about 5 weeks ago. Flew out to LA, found somebody that knew what they were doing, and had a quad fusion. Google that, and because I can't explain it. But hopefully in 3 weeks or so, I should be back to making full swings, and I've still got some support and plenty of want to still do it. So I'm excited to get back playing golf.
Do you think it was messed up, or that's been there since the accident? Has it been years?
Yeah,
this has gone undiagnosed?
It's been 2.5 years since everything was, completely healed. That ligament's been torn since 2019. And I had 2 surgeons just completely miss it, from what I've been told. The guy that just did surgery on me, he did the surgery on Drew Brees' thumb. He's under contract with the Lakers. He's just, from everything I read online, one of the best hand surgeons in the country. So I'm hoping this one's going to stick.
Assuming you're healthy in a month or so, then start the comeback trail. You're exempt on Latin American tour. What's the playing schedule look like for you this year then? What's realistic of how many events and how long do you think until potentially you're back to kind of full strength?
Full strength is kind of a gray area, I guess. I should be back to making full swings in a month and hopefully really confident in just full impact swings, not having to worry about anything, thick rough, that kind of stuff in about a month and a half. Shouldn't take any longer to heal than a normal break, the standard 6 to 8 weeks. But I'm actually not planning on going back to Latin. When you combine COVID, and I've been down there enough to know what it's like, and coming back from this injury and how much time there is left in the season, it just doesn't make any sense, I don't think, for me to go through all that. I've got a wife and a baby, and that's just a lot. You never know when you're going to get stuck down there, and essentially to go play 1 or 2 events and have to win is just kind of a stretch especially when you're not fully healthy. So I'll probably pop around and play some Mondays and some mini tour events leading up to Q school. But yeah, I just call me what you want, but I don't think I'm going to go back. I went to Argentina, and you call me spoiled or whatever you want, but it's not exactly. I don't know how to describe it. Let's just say there's too much going on to really be able to focus on your game the whole time you're there.
Yeah, and then maybe by the time Q school comes around this fall, you're back to 100% healthy or healthier than you've been at in years, and you start that journey, and web.com or dating myself, Corn Ferry Tour status could be I'm assuming that's the goal, right? I mean, get through all three stages and
100%.
see what happens.
You don't make money doing this until you're at least in the top 50 on the Corn Ferry Tour. That's when you get into the black. So going all the way down there to play a Latin event's just not worth it to me. My plan was actually to go back to Canada. I was signed up for Canada Q School, and then once I got another MRI and somebody finally spotted the ligament that was torn and the bone that hadn't healed, I had to cancel my McKenzie Tour qualifier. So at this point, honestly, I'm just trying to get healthy. I can't. Everything's going to be there when I get healthy. It's not like I need to, sign up for everything now, book everything I can now. I just need to do my therapy twice a week and get my wrist as healthy as I can and not focus on anything else. I feel like that's the best thing I can do for myself at this point.
You had a hell of an amateur career, kind of like through the high school years and college. Like when did you realize you had some elite talent at this game, and being a professional golfer was going to be a realistic pathway? Like when did you realize like I am essentially way better than the other kids at this age group, and I would love to be able to do this for a living? When did that sort of hit you?
I can actually pin that down to a day. Played in a tournament down in Augusta, Georgia, at Forest Hills in Augusta State. What was it called? The 3M, I think, college tournament. A bunch of really good schools. And I had won the two previous events. This is my junior year, so that probably got me up to, those two got me up to probably 4 wins or so at that point. And I think I shot 60, 8, 7, something like that. First 2 days, had a one-shot lead going into the last round, and just kind of walked away from everybody. And I remember riding home back to Athens in the car it was just me and Coach Hack riding back, and we were just talking about, like, how unbelievable it was, and he was pumping me up and feeding my ego and just enjoying the moment and stuff, having just won 3 tournaments in a row with, and all of them had good fields. I think I was kind of in shock, but it kind of set in that moment. Okay, we've really got to buckle down and see what we can do with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be an interesting feeling, right? That at that level you're beating the best, which then logically would make you think, I'm ready for that next level after the college scene. Yeah. I
just remembered it was actually Scottie Scheffler who got second in that tournament. he was chasing me. But it's just, you think back, like my first college round ever was with Justin Thomas, and my second college round ever was with Jordan Spieth. So, like, I've been around these guys, and that's, me and you talked about it in a private conversation the other night, watching all these guys play so well and, having beaten them and gotten beaten by them too, but, knowing that you can compete with them after playing, 15, 20 events with somebody and watching them win on the PGA Tour 10 times, you're like, man, got to get there. It'll piss you off as easily as it'll fire you up. It just depends.
Yeah,
it depends on what mood you're in.
Yeah, and then take that fire and you go to you use it as its motivation, right? And when you were playing with those guys, did Spieth kind of have the same game he had now, where he kind of, hit a little here, a little there, and at the end of the round he adds them up, and you're kind of like 68, and you're like, how the hell did that just happen?
It hadn't changed a morsel, not a morsel. It was just identical. It was same little draw, same setup, same head tilted back. I mean, it was exactly the same. I don't know what else to tell you. Trying to think of what stood out. His distance control was just miles better than mine. And I noticed that immediately. We had I don't know what hole it was. Early, it was a par 4, and you had to lay just short of the water. You know, the closer you got to the water, if you were right on the edge, you could hit wedge or 9-iron. So most guys are laying 25, 30 yards back, and it's 60 to the water. So you want to hit 3-wood, but you kind of hit a little high off the face and knuckle it. You might trickle one in the water. You don't want to do that early in the round. He takes out 3-wood and lands it 2 yards short of the water and just stops it. And it had a ton of spin, so you knew it was going to stop. You're like, shit, this guy knows exactly how far he's hitting the golf ball.
Yeah. So he had that control game then, and iron game solid. And he just seems like a gamer. He just kind of gets it in the hole, right? He's just
he
gets the damn ball in the hole.
Rolls the piss out of it. I mean, let's not overlook that. And he did. It's just one of the most intoxicating putting strokes to watch in person because the rhythm is so insanely consistent. I mean, obviously, especially 15 to 20 feet. It's almost like the putter's just swinging itself. You can tell it's just exactly how the putter's meant to be swung. I don't know.
No, you can get like a good rhythm. You can get a rhythm off of it almost, right? It's like if I go out to a tour event and I watch the driving range, like the next couple of days, I actually play really well. I don't know if it's just like watching that rhythm of it, of a touring professional, but like it works. Like just watch. It's sort of like osmosis goes through you.
You can
I play good.
You can pull up some good old, there's a million kids that have pulled up, Tiger on YouTube from 2000 and watched him swing before they've gone to the range or to the course, and you'll get something. It might not be good or nearly what you think you're doing, but you're going to get something. And the key to playing good golf is thinking that you've found something. Whether that's new or whether that's old, it's confidence.
Or it might, or you just, for me, just watching a bunch of really good golf shots, right? These are pros on a range. It's just sort of, I don't know, there's like a positive vibe to it. I get like a positive vibe out just watching that rhythm and the sound of the strike and the ball flight. It just, I don't know, it works for me. I could just take it in, then go shoot my 75 from the middle tees, which is a successful round in my world, and I'm a happy camper with it. But yeah, I mean, I can see what you're talking about watching that stroke. It certainly doesn't put negative vibes into your game. I imagine playing with Spieth and watching it.
It's just hypnotizing. It's almost like, I think it's almost the putter's like weightlessness. It's like on the way through, he's not adding anything. It's just gravity just taking it through. There's no manipulation and things just swinging itself. And, I played with him a few times and every time it's hypnotizing. That's the only word. You just can't stop watching him putt. No matter where you are, you're going to make sure you're there to watch him make a stroke, just like you said, just so you can try to figure out what he's doing because you ain't got it.
Well, your college team, too, was pretty sick talent-wise with you. Keith Mitchell, Grayson Sigg, Sepp Straka just won. Like, was that the environment that was from the competition, how good that squad was? Did you guys kind of feed off each other on that one, of pushing each other and getting a little better, and the next guy plays well, then you play well? And was that had to be a pretty healthy environment for making you a better player, I'd have to imagine.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think that any of these guys, because we're talking about guys that I played with that are on tour now, would be Sepp Straka, Grayson Sigg, Keith Mitchell, who am I forgetting? I don't know. Somebody's going to kill me. Anyway, it was an incredibly underachieving team, just flat out. Like we won one SEC championship, and really didn't even come close to winning a national championship. It was sad, and there's nothing I would love more than to sit all my old teammates that are on tour now down in a room and go, guys, what the hell were you doing in college? Because we should have so many rings. Like, is what I'm seeing on TV right now is it just makes me sad because we were so close. it seemed like every week we finished second and third a lot. And we won, but, we were solid. But if you look at the guys now, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a tour event you're talking I think there was 5 guys that have played the tour, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, that was your team.
Yeah, it was, I had Joey Garver on the team too. We've been on and off the tour, but we should have been legendary. And we won one SEC championship, which was my last year, and Seth was the only one. It was Seth and Grayson were still there. Joey was gone. Keith was gone. So I don't know. It just, I look back with a lot of fond memories, and the competition was great. And Hacker set it up in a good way where, it's just whoever qualifies goes, and he basically looks at you and goes, listen, if you don't want to work hard enough to qualify, to travel, then I don't want you on my team. Like, if you don't want to practice, it's fine with me. I've got 5 guys that are working their heart out and want to be on the road. So it essentially creates this environment where you don't want to get outworked.
Right.
And it was great for me. I hit an absolute shit ton of balls until my fingers bled literally a couple times. And it kind of got me through those last 2 years of my college career where I really kind of found it. It was those thousands and thousands of balls I hit my freshman and sophomore year because I knew I just had more. And, I was qualifying, but I wasn't, really finishing in the top 10, but maybe once or twice a year. I wasn't an All-American at all my freshman year and got honorable mention my sophomore. So I was pissed most of the time. I just knew I had better, and watching all those other guys grind and, being a 4 and 5 guy, I knew I had 5, 6 guys that were pissed and wanted to be on the road right behind me, nipping on my heels, and I had to go qualify every week. And I think that's probably a big part of why you see Grayson and Keith and Sepp so calm out there, is because, they didn't just play 12, 15 events a year or whatever we did. We were qualifying 3 days a week. So it was a never ending tournament playing for Georgia. But, you don't make any money on the driving range. So we were out trying to beat each other up and figure out how to hit golf shots and get in the hole.
When you, 2016, top 5 down in PGA Tour event as an amateur, what's that experience like with the crowd size and probably the media stuff and everyone talking about it? Like, how cool was that event?
It was way cooler than it should have been because Spieth was number 1 at the time, and we were T8 or 9 going into the last round. So I got paired with him, just me and him, Sunday. 1:30 or something like that at the course that I grew up at. I grew up in Tampa, so I'd played this golf course. I was a member there. I'd played it, a couple hundred times probably. Him being number 1 in the world, the crowds that drew was just unbelievable. There were 3 or 4 times during the day when good stuff happened, putts went in, me or him or whatever, where the people around the green were, 5, 6, 7 deep, and they made enough noise where I could feel the ground shake in my feet. And being, 30, 40 yards away from all these people, you're like, holy shit, that's pretty cool.
Is it overwhelming? Is it fun? Is it like, I want more of it, right? Is it like, once you get in that environment, are you like, fuck yes, I can't wait to get back there and see that again. Like, I want that kind of crowd following me. Like, I want that.
Jay, I'm going to be honest with you. I went from playing in front of max 20 people, 25, 50 people at the end of a college tournament to 15,000 a hole. So I was just in shock. I was so overwhelmed that I was completely calm because I felt like I didn't even know how to act. You think you should be nervous, but it's so much that you just kind of zone out. I think it was just because I made such a huge jump. But I remember even on the first tee, just feeling just totally calm. I was still standing on the driving range, and I was standing over the tee ball with, him behind me. I teed off first, and I'm like, holy hell, I'm fine. I've been dreading this all morning, and I'm completely fine. Let's go.
Well, that's
I'm
I've
gonna,
always.
I'm gonna
That's
strike
like I
it.
think like golf fans always wondered, right? Like, what's that feeling like? It's sort of like when the rock star goes on stage and the curtain opens, or when you're all of a sudden played in front of 25, 15, 30,000 people, whatever's on that hole following that group.
Yeah.
Is it calm? Is it, like, it's always an interesting thing 'cause we'll never be there of what that feeling is kind of like. I think it's really interesting because I've talked to some guys on the Ryder Cup and all of a sudden they're calm. Talked to like Parnevik about this, and they go to peg the ball, and they're like, "Holy shit! I don't think I can't get the golf club back. Like, just let me not kill somebody on the first tee." Then after the first tee shot, they're pretty good. They say, that's kind of a common thing I've had from all the interviews I've done. It's like, one shot, and I'm a little nervous, but then I'm a professional golfer. Like, I can do this. It's interesting that you were calm from the start. It's got to be a.
It was. I was shocked by it, and I'll tell you, like, it's not like a me thing because it wasn't the first PGA Tour event I'd played in. I had played, I think, 2 before that, and I just hovered around the cut line every time I'd made a cut. But I think I made 1, missed 2, but I was always right around that cut line. And Friday afternoons, back 9, nervous, not calm. No. But there's nobody out there on a Friday afternoon watching the sponsor exemption group. Like, there's less people than at the end of a college event, but I was shaking. Like, I mean, if you're in college getting the chance, somebody's letting you come play in their PGA Tour event. You want to make the cut. I don't care if you're not making any money. That means a lot.
Well, pride, right? You want to show them that the sponsorship. Yeah, I mean,
right. And you want to prove to yourself that you belong, and
right.
yada yada. The list goes on, but that's all internal pressure and this and that. But you go from that to 25,000 people, and it just puts your brain and your body into, like, I don't know, blackout mode or whatever you want to call it. It's just too much. I was just like, okay, it just like almost turns into scenery at that point because there's so many people you can't even really focus like on anybody.
Was your adrenaline running? Like, were you hitting things further? Like, was there a little bit of that? Even though you felt calm, was there a little bit of
the adrenaline was definitely there?
Yeah,
the adrenaline was there because I've watched it back on TV and saw where I hit my tee ball on 1. Like I told you, I played that golf course 200 times. I never landed it down there. It was like 10 downwind, and I flew it like 340. And Jason, you've seen pictures of me. I know you haven't met me yet. I am a string bean. I weigh 140 pounds. So 340 was like that. That's just, you tell me that's not adrenaline. I don't know what else that could be, but that's the only time in my life I've flown it 340.
Well, let's talk too about winning. When you won on the Canadian Tour, had to be a hell of a feeling. And those experiences like that happened at the Valspar where you played and held your own, played great, and all the success you had, does that factor into winning at a high level? Did you go back on those experiences? Were you as calm, going down the stretch in that tournament as you had been in those other kind of big events? Like, what's sort of the mindset do you take to kind of get it over the finish line?
I think you have to convince yourself that you're the best player on the golf course before you even tee off that day. I think that's 99% of the battle. Because if you're going to 18 tied with somebody and you think that he's a better iron player than you, like, you're not going to have a good time. You've got to go out there. If you're in the hunt for a golf tournament, and you've seen this come out of a lot of PGA Tour players, this cocky asshole attitude of, I'm just, the Patrick Reed top 5 comment type stuff where, you know what, I'm just better than everybody here. I'm sorry. It's just, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Like, you have to feel that way inside, I think, to really kind of get that edge over the guys chasing you. You just have to think you're better. Whether you are or not doesn't really matter, because you got to assume they're going to be as nervous as you're trying not to be. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It makes total sense. No, I mean, and you kind of see it. Like, you always said, like, the most interesting experiment you could have is take someone who doesn't play who doesn't watch golf at all, grab my wife, and I said this last time in a podcast I did, go watch the Wednesday Pro-Am, and she would be able to tell you who the pro is by the way they walk down the fairway versus the
100%. You think guys pump or bang their fist on their chest when they make a putt because they're insecure? No, it's because they think they're the man and they're right. You just kind of have to be that way to a point, and that's why a lot of guys at the top level get a lot of hate, is you get a lot of those kind of jock mentality type of guys, but that's what it takes to knock in those 4-footers over and over and over.
Yeah, it makes sense, and it's not like, well, 1 out of 8 guys has that. All of them walk like they own the fairway, right? Every one of you guys, you watch it from afar walking up the fairway, you guys look like you own the goddamn fairway.
Well, on the tour, like, when I was playing, just not even having status on the PGA Tour, when I was playing in a PGA Tour event, especially when I Mondayed into one, like, you think you're the shit. You're playing on the PGA Tour. I don't care how long you've been out there. Doesn't get any less cool. Like, you're a badass. You play on the PGA Tour. That's how you make your dollar. That's unbelievable. So if you're not walking around with your chest out and your chin up, you should be. Like, it's sick. What else do you want to do for a living? Like, where do you want to sit and push papers at? I don't know.
I'm with you, man. Like I said, it makes total sense to me. But you can, like I said, it's just it's interesting to watch it from afar. But I agree with you. I think you have to have that attitude to be successful out there. I remember like Rory Sabatini just getting crucified for saying Tiger's never been more beatable. And this was when Rory was a top 15, 10, 12 player in the world. He has to say that.
Yeah. Well, look at him.
Right?
He still pops up, and shows everybody that he's still there. And everybody wants to hate him, but you got to kind of respect him a little bit. He pretends he's from another country and gets citizenship here. Well, I don't, don't quote me. I don't know exactly the specifics on the whole Olympic thing, but I know he played from where he was not born. And it's slimy, but you know what? The guy wanted to play with the best in the world. And there you go.
You know what? But you got to take your hat out to him, because he's played. I bet you he's been on the PGA Tour for 22, 23 straight years, something nutty like that.
Oh yeah,
that's hard, man.
He's a gamer. He's an absolute gamer.
Yeah. So they should say that. He should say Tiger's beatable. When Stephen Ames got crushed, by Tiger, but he said it before the round or whatever it was, in that match play when he got drummed. But I always don't blame the player for saying that. Like, he has to say that to himself going into that match. He has to.
Yeah, I mean, you could have told, and you could have told me after I finished top 5 and down in Tampa at Valspar, you could have said, "Hey, I'll set you up with Tiger tomorrow. 18 holes, match play, $20,000." Even though, hey, Dad, I'm in college. Can you sponsor me for this match with Tiger? But I would have been like, let's go. Like, I've never played better. I'll beat Tiger's ass. I don't give a shit. And looking back, that's probably the dumbest thing I've ever let go through in my mind in the history of ever. But, that's where good golf takes you, especially when you do it on the best stage. It'll send your head to a very, very large volume.
I know you've got to meet some cool people in the game. I know you got to spend a few days with Arnie. What is that experience like of hanging out with Arnie for a couple of days? I think you said it was in Latrobe. Like, what was that experience like? And I have to imagine it was pretty goddamn cool.
Yeah, I mean, so just so lucky. And I've got a picture, and I wasn't standing in a line of people waiting to get a picture with Lauren Palmer. I've got a picture in my office of me just, like a casual photo of me just talking to him out on the golf course. And that, it's one of my prized possessions. That is, you could not buy that for me. But so we spent 3 days there right before we went over to England for the Walker Cup. And he just kind of showed us around his shop one day, had us over to his house one day. We had dinner with him twice. I got to sit next to him at dinner one night. Unbelievable. Kettle rocks, obviously.
from what I saw from about 11.
In more than one.
No, it started at about 11 a.m. because he would come out and start watching us play. You know, we'd go play 36 at Latrobe because, you know, we're there. Arnold wants to watch us play. We're going to go play as many holes as he'll stay out there. 10:30, 11, Kettle rocks. 12 Kettle rocks, 1 Kettle rocks, 2 Kettle rocks. Dinner, Kettle rocks. The man was a garbage disposal when it came to that potato water. He loved it, but I got to sit next to him at dinner and order a hard Arnold Palmer, which I thought was just the coolest thing that had ever happened to me and probably ever will.
When he's not trying to entertain, like when it's just, you know, professional golfer, Arnold Palmer legend, talking to a young golfer who's obviously got some talent and going places, you know, and you're playing the Walker Cup. Mm. Can you tell it's a little bit of a different conversation than when you see him interacting with other people? Was he a little bit more, what's what I'm trying to say? Like, was there advice? Is he trying to, does he say, hey, ask me any question you want? And is it more or less where he's really trying to mentor your guys in that situation?
I think we missed that by a few years with Arnold, unfortunately. We're talking 16. Wasn't doing that great. He was just trying to kind of get a jab in where he could, stay outside as long as he could. It wasn't, you know, he'd answer you questions, but sometimes the answers didn't make total sense, and certainly Kettle had something to do with it. But you know, there was some good conversations. I remember I asked him at dinner what or who he thought was the best ball striker of all time back from his area. Forget all the new guys. Like, Jack hit it pretty good, I gotta say. And I'm like, well, what about Mo Norman? I always hear just unbelievable stories and, you know, his videos about Mo. And Mo was extremely erratic. You mean like personally? I didn't even know what to say. I would have been like, well, obviously he's striked.
His putting? Where was he?
He's striked, dude. Can you just tell me that he's striked? That's obviously what I want to hear. I just kind of let it go. I didn't want to question him.
Okay.
No, you're wrong.
No, you don't question Mr. Palmer. If he says Mo Norman was erratic, you just roll with it and, you know, grab a sip of your cocktail and go to the next question.
Yeah. He got me bad one time though. We were in his office. The whole team was in there, and it was kind of one of those, you know, early in the day, sober Arnie, fire away questions. And I'm, you know, being the smart ass in the room, or trying to be anyway, I guess I put my hand up and, well, Arnie, why did you never sell your drink with Kettle in it? You know, or do some kind of partnership there? It's delicious. And he just stopped and looked down, looked all disappointed, and looked up and goes, son, you should know I don't support alcohol. And just looked at me with this just deadpan, just piss, like, how dare you even mention, like, for 4 or 5 seconds, the room just felt dead silent. We're like, I'm like, oh, shit. I've really stepped in it. And then he just goes down and grins at me like, I got you, motherfucker.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. So that sense of humor was still there. He was still witty. But late in the evening when he spent more time with us, it was, I don't know. Arnie was more into the sauce than he was into us, I think, at that point. I hate to say that. I hate to, but, you know, if you ain't feeling good and you're that age, you're the king. I ain't questioning the damn thing you're doing.
I couldn't agree more. In the Palmer Cup at Rich Harvest Farms, which is kind of, you know, like a half hour from us, you had a singles match against Thomas Dietrich from University of Illinois, and there was an annoying guy named Jay Armour. Now, from sub 70 guys who talked your ear off during the entire match. You lost the match. Do you still blame Jay to this day, who's a partner in the business and runs all the social media, for that defeat of having to spend 3 hours of that annoying bastard probably asking you dumbass question after dumbass question? I'm assuming it had something to do, you know, probably didn't put you in the best frame of mind. Do we still blame Jay for that loss? 'Cause I would.
Well, I certainly could take the easy road there, but I can't say that it was a soft mentality or somebody being able to get in my head that easily because I don't even remember who the hell you're talking about. So
the irony was, Jay was in your group and followed you the whole time, and now the sub-70 relationship and all that stuff.
Small world,
and we were just. Yeah, it is a small world, and Jay is like, we got to bring this one up of Jay probably annoyed the shit out of you for 3. No, he actually said you were really cool. It's like you almost enjoyed the conversation during the match, because Jay knows enough about golf where if the pro doesn't, or you were an amateur at the time, but the player doesn't want to be talking, enough not to talk. But he said you were awesome. Like, you had good conversations about sports, hanging out, shit guys talk about, and you were cool as hell with it. And,
wow.
Some of the guys, Jay said, are really, I think he was inside the ropes. He was walking and, like, doing scoring or something like that. And he said, you guys hit it off and just bullshitted the whole time. He's like, you're awesome. But, of course, because I love Jay like a brother, I have to give him shit that he caused the defeat. Right.
I'm kind of surprised I was so chipper during a loss. But, I guess when you're at the Palmer Cup and Rich Harvest and, Dietrich doesn't exactly suck, obviously.
No, what he said is, like, you guys both played great, and, like, Dietrich went nuts. So you were, like, looking at him like, he said you lost, and you were, like, 4 under par.
Yes. I remember him going off. I think he shot, like, 30 on the front or something, and I'm just
you're just like, I don't know, Jay.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, he said you were actually in a good mood because you were playing really well, and he just went, batshit low, and you're just like, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one.
Yeah. I think that was later and we were leading by a good bit. So it wasn't like, those team events are just always about, oh my God, can't let the team down. This point can matter. But we kind of smoked them a little bit in that Palmer Cup. Thank God, because I lost my Walker Cup and that still keeps me up at night occasionally. Those team events are just such good memories. So many good teammates. So many good opponents.
Well, what an honor! What an honor too, right? Like to do that, like Walker Cup, Palmer Cup, like that's an elite amateur event, right? It's hard to get on those teams.
Yeah,
what a cool experience to have that.
It was unbelievable, and they just spoil you just beyond belief, or any kind of we didn't deserve any of it, and we all knew it. It was just completely overboard. The guy that owned the place, Mr. Rich, just went absolutely kind of bonkers with it, as you do when you have, Billy stacks. But the highlight for me, honestly, was his car collection that guy's got.
Isn't that sick?
Oh,
that's crazy.
400 cars. He had two Ferrari Daytonas parked next to each other. Right next to the front door. I'm like, okay, so you take this seriously. But anyway, no, that was a cool experience. Me and Snyder Jans played Don Rahm and Dietrich one day, and it's like you look back and you go, damn, talent, And I'm not thinking about myself.
Oh, I was going to say which one of you? No, Rahm was pretty damn good, wasn't he?
Rahm is the best player I've ever played with. And I've played with some good players. But you hear these guys recently talking about, Rahm's going to win 10 majors. Rahm's the next long-term world number one. I'm 100% on that team because I've never seen anything like it. I sat there. It was me in college. It was me and Maverick McNeely and John Rahm, all kind of trying to get to that number one spot in the college rankings. And I never got there. And it ended up being John and Matt that went back and forth. I just remember just looking at the rankings all the time going, God, what is this guy doing? Because I played with Mav a bunch, and, he's a super cool guy, one of the nicest guys you could ever come across on the planet. But you don't know this other guy, and you kind of start to resent him a little bit because you can't catch him, and, he's not from here, and yada, yada, yada. So, and then you meet the guy, and he's a super solid dude. Extremely nice, incredibly knowledgeable, and you play with him and you go, oh, shit. I don't want to have any of these shots.
What stood out? Is it the length, the power of the ball? What was it? Is it just everything was just...
It's how easy it looks.
Superb.
like the way he takes the club back, sets it, turns down into it, you can tell that there's nothing to it. He doesn't really feel anything other than where the club is. He's got this up and down and in motion that's just kind of, let's take it back short, lay the club down, and hit it as hard as we can. It's like a forehand, essentially. Yeah. You look at it and you go, that makes a shitload of sense. I just can't really do that with my wrist, and I don't know how to turn like that. And he weighs 240 pounds. I don't think it's going to work for me. But
yeah, he's a big boy.
He just hits these, like, the last time I played with him was played a practice round with him at the Shriners back in like 17 or 18, and he would hit these drivers, these just 320 carry, 315 carry, just piss missiles that were no more than 15, 20 feet on the ground or off the ground. Had probably 1900 spin. So really low spin, but it was hit so hard and so solid and had so much integrity that there was just no chance it was going to curve at all. There's no movement.
Just dead ass straight.
Just dead ass straight. And when you hit low trajectory, low spin shots, they usually want to kind of meander right eventually. But he just hits it with such integrity. It's just so hard that it just doesn't move. It's literally just hit too hard. It's got too much forward momentum to go sideways. It's just like, oh God, all right, let me just hit this as hard as I can. He'll have 9-iron, I'll have 7 or 6, and we'll make this work somehow. Because when the fairways are firm and somebody can do that, it just multiplies everything exponentially. So, the only real chance that I would ever have would be soft golf courses when I was out there, because I was swinging it probably 115, 116. So I wouldn't say my only chances, but my best chances were when it was soft, because I could, stop an 8-iron when they were stopping a wedge. They'd only outdrive me by 20 instead of 50.
Yeah, well, he's, the talent is proven out, right? He's, world number one. He's a hell of a player. I always thought his game too would like translate well to like an Open Championship. He looks like he'd be able to. He's got to get one of those at some point in time. That heavy trajectory like that.
Yeah. I
don't know. It's like he's got to be holding a claret jug at some point. I'd have to imagine.
He hadn't even started. I mean, 7, 8, 10 majors. I'm on that team. I haven't played with Tiger. I haven't played with Rory. I haven't played with DJ or Jason Day or, any of those guys. But I've played with enough to see differences, and that's just different. It's just different.
Well, I had another question off golf a little bit, and you brought up cars. I know you love cars. So is there one in your garage that you're kind of in love with now, and is there a dream car? Like a realistic dream car, is there like something on the highway, like you want, like there is one where it's like one day I'm getting that on top of the one you got in the garage now.
Yeah. So I've got a 392 Challenger, which you don't even know about. That's kind of full bolt-ons, makes about 500 at the wheels, cammed, all that good stuff. That's the daily driver. A little bit too loud, but we're working on that. It's still kind of asshole loud, and it needs to be like, oh, that sounds nice loud. So that's kind of a work in progress, but that thing is pretty close to my heart. I haven't had it all that long, but it's pretty close to my heart just because of how comfortable it is and how much power there is. It's like a boat that just wants to do wheelies. And then I've got more on the interesting end of, I've got a 1982 BMW 320i that has an O2, so an E46 M3 motor in it on coilovers, 5-speed, yada, yada, yada. So it doesn't sound like an insane car, but those old 320s were really, really tiny. So 2,400 pound car with probably now after the engine's been built, 400 horsepower at the crank,
That'll move.
350 wheel probably. So it'll put you back in your seat. It's one of it's just a fun car in a way that we don't have a ton of money in it, because we bought the 3 cars that we put together into that one car for a total of, I don't know, 500, 800, and 1,000. Whatever that is, 23. And then labor, what we couldn't do ourselves. We've got not a ton of money in that car, but it will absolutely put you back in your seat. It's just funny to see on the road, because you just don't see any of them. It doesn't look like a car that should still be driving. So you'd look like you kind of somehow got that car running that's been sitting in somebody's front yard for 15 years running, and you've got it out on the road. It looks dangerous, and then it just kind of stands up and takes off. It's definitely a sleeper. It's a fun little car. But that's what we got right now. I've got an old Wrangler at my dad's house, but ain't got room for it. But cars are. I've definitely said more than once that I play golf to buy cars, but I've definitely had moments where I've overextended myself. But we're still doing all right over here.
Is there one on the dream list, though? Is there a certain brand or one car that you're like, one day I'm getting it?
That's the thing. That's so tough. That depends on what day of the week you ask me. We've got to talk about budgets. It's because can I go to Barrett Jackson with $5 million, or can I sit down on the internet with $100,000?
Let's say $100,000 on the internet. There you go. Like that's fairly obtainable.
Yeah, fairly attainable. Well, they just became unattainable. Damn, I was going to say R34 GTR, but now over the last year, those have gone from 100 to like 300. So if you have a title of one of those, congratulations. I don't know, probably a Demon, just because I have a Challenger and I love it.
That's a cool car.
600 horsepower is cool, but 800 is a little bit cooler, especially when it's got a warranty.
Yeah, and it's just classic Americana, like muscle car, right? Like it's just taken that 60s era and just put it on steroids.
It is,
awesome.
And it's just, you almost want to throw a big wing on it and put Super Bird on the side of it or something. It's just, I've ridden in one, fortunately, for 10 minutes, and it is absolutely as bananas as you could think it is. And there's just, I really don't get the power down in my Challenger with 600 horsepower, but, that thing's just, it's got no chance. Mine is stick. If you had a Demon, I don't think they make a Demon in a manual, but if they did, it would be an absolute nightmare. If you weren't absolutely perfect on every shift, you would be all over the map.
The torque on that thing too, right? It's just, it's insane.
Well, the car will actually do a wheelie. If you watch their commercials from back when they launched it, you get the tires warm, put the skinny tires up front, it'll stand up, and that's, talking super low 9s with a warranty. And quarter mile, that's bananas. But anyway, yeah, I can't even really say I can commit to that. You got to give me 3 or 4 hours, maybe 3 or 4 days. I got to get on eBay, see where the prices are at. It's bad.
Well, the prices have gone up nuts on all these things. That's the crazy part.
It's bananas.
Like, I love cars as well, and it's like, God, some of this stuff is, the market will eventually chill out a little bit. I think it's kind of gone pretty crazy in the last 12, 18 months, where it's, someone's going to be stuck holding a hot potato, but whole nother subject matter.
I got some hot info off it because, I'm one of those, it's so bad with the cars that I just sit on YouTube at night and watch all the videos and stuff. Ford, I found this out the other night. Ford is starting a subsidiary within themselves. You run a company, so you'll appreciate this. Called, what is it, Ford E or Ford EV, or says their new electric vehicle division, but it's a new company, essentially, within a company.
Yep.
And they are going to be fully direct to consumer. Sound familiar?
Yeah, can't say I'm shocked. Right? Tesla sort of pioneered that a little bit in the cars, so it's,
you're going to figure out a way
to make it.
to make them affordable, you know, you got to take a hand out of the pot. Like this, just you know, it's just the way it's got to be. So, how would you like to be a Ford dealer? Open up that email on Friday morning.
Yeah, I mean,
3 more years and you're
I've got a good friend who owns a Ford dealership, and I've often wondered, well, you know, still always have to service it, but I've often wondered if you know, that ever comes to fruition where it's just this car is this amount of money, these options are this amount of money, we're going to price it fairly, and that's it. There's no, you know, there might be one sale at the end of the year for 2 weeks until they're gone, and it's not that big of a discount, and we're not going to overproduce. We might even run out of them versus discounting the hell out of the thing for the end of the year and all these promotions, and everyone waits till, I mean, to me, the model seems a little bit old, but, you know, I'm speaking from somebody who started a company that does direct-to-consumer on higher-end products, so I'm kind of biased.
You know, like, are you charging people a $8.99 dealer fee? I mean, I know you're not selling a $30,000 set of clubs, but, like, really? You're charging people dealer fees and, you know, freight? And, like, give me a break. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, but, you know, I'm not surprised that that's happening in the marketplace, that they're seeing that they can be direct with it. Right? And
everybody's been sending home ordering cars from Carvana, so yeah, people have been sending home on 770. It's just how it works.
Not surprised. Got 2 more here, and I'll get you back to the YouTube videos since we're doing this at night. Best golf shot you ever hit under pressure?
Good one. Okay. SEC championship, the only one we won. I had 40 feet on 18. I had 2 putts to win the team and 3 putts to win the individual, and I drained that bitch.
Nice.
It was like 30-mile-an-hour winds. Whole team was standing behind the green. Oh, so good. Oh, great memory.
That's a good golf shot. All right, last one. But I'm still, even for the last one, I'm still going to claim that Jay Armour messed up your shit at the Palmer Cup. I'm still putting that on the record of this podcast, and I'm blaming Jay. Still going with that one.
That's one less loss that I've got to think about at night. So I appreciate it.
It's annoying. He's annoying. I wouldn't want to play competitive golf with him in my ear. It's his fault.
It's off the record.
Will clearly show that.
We're scrubbing it. Canceled.
Yeah, exactly. Best golf course, best one or two golf courses architecturally you've ever played, and then what 2 courses or so are still on your bucket list that you want to go see and play?
Well, number 1 is the easiest ever because people ask me all the time. Cypress Point, and I played Augusta, and I would play Cypress Point once over playing Augusta 20 times.
Okay, so I got to ask. I've been lucky enough to play Cypress. I played Cypress and loved it. I played it once. Very fortunate to be able to do it. Why do you like Cypress more than Augusta?
Because it's like playing 5 of the best golf courses in the world in one golf course. Because there's so many different types of holes. Like you're in, and people don't know because they just see the pictures at 16. But like you tee off, it's normal, right? You drive the range over there, it's normal, and you shot down the hill and you're on green, and then you kind of go into the rainforest, and then it's back to normal for a minute. You play a par 3, and you're back into the rainforest, and then you're in the sand dunes, and you're like, what the hell? I'm in the desert. And then you're on 15, and you're like, oh my God, there's a seal barking at me. It's like playing golf on Mars. It's too much. It's absolute sensory overload. Stanford hosted the tournament there my freshman year. 8 teams match play, 3 days. So we got a practice round. We had to play it 4 days in a row. It's the coolest tournament I've ever played in my life, period.
Yeah, I think I was like so overwhelmed I was there. I think I would, and I loved it, but I think I would need like 2 or 3 times to totally appreciate. I was like walking on hollow, like you're right, like what am I doing here? Playing golf. Like that was I was almost it's almost like a fog you're in.
Oh, it's like you stepped into another dimension and you're just trying to accept that you're there. Like you can't even just settle in long enough to enjoy it. You just blink and the round's over. You're like, did I just walk 8 miles? Like what the hell? We just teed off.
It is good. It's really good.
I'm trying to think what I have not played. I've had a couple invites
but I have not been able to make it to Pine Valley, and that is what I keep hearing over and over and over. And I've got to make it. I've got to make it.
I never played it. I've heard the same thing where people are like, that could be the best golf course in the world.
Well, if I get to take an extra, your phone will be binging.
Whatever, if it's on my anniversary, I'm whatever I got to do. If I got to, hitchhike there or Greyhound it, I'll be out there. Just let me know when and where.
It's one of those things. It's a free Ferrari waiting for you at the dealership. You're going to get in the car. Like you got to go. You got to go now. Just in the same way that I would, wake up at 4 a.m. and drive down to Augusta to play if somebody called me. But it still doesn't touch Cypress. It just doesn't, because it's just field the whole time. Like I don't know. Augusta is unbelievable. And God, if any members are listening, I'm so grateful for you guys letting the Bulldogs come out there once a year and letting us play. It's a treat. But we played it in February every time, where it was kind of hairy and the greens were not fast. And so 73, I don't know what it is, 7,400 yards turned into 8,000 because it's, half plugging in the fairways. And but then you get down to 12 and 13 and you get the goosebumps, and it's everything you dreamed and more. But, if playing it in February is I don't think as incredible as just going to watch the tournament, just because it looks so much better during the tournament. I've never played it when it's firm, and it's a shame because it's unbelievable. Standing on 12 tee boxes, a hell of a feeling.
Well, the closest I came to it was like Dallas, Texas has it's like Tour 18, where it's like copycat golf course, and they had Amen Corner, right? And if you didn't know it was a copycat golf course, you would just think to yourself, those holes are great. Whoever designed that, man, those are fun ass golf holes. Like, they're fantastic right now. They're copycat holes of Augusta, but truly, like, the architecture is fantastic on Amen Corner and around that area, right? Like, it's just great golf holes. It just is.
Yeah, and you've heard people say it 1,000 times, but people don't, unless you've been there, you don't understand how severe all the undulation is. But unless you've played it, you don't know how far above your feet that ball is on 13. It is like playing t-ball. So you're essentially, it makes you aim at the right edge of the green because you feel like you're going to hook the shit out of it. So you got 220, at belt high. Obviously not, but it feels like it's belt high. And you want to hit a cut in there, obviously, but how you gonna pull it off? Yeah. So you just kind of aim right and pray that it draws, or you aim at the center of the green and pray that you don't hook it and hit it up on the hill left. It's definitely it puts you in a bit of a mental pickle if or you
just do what I do,
hybrid and like a normal person.
Well, no, you just bunt it down the right-hand side in the copycat hole. Then I bunted like a little 7-iron down the hill. Then I just, wedged it on the downslope and prayed I made my 5 and walked quietly. Like, I just took that element out because I'm not that good.
Okay, Zach Johnson. Okay, Zach Johnson.
Exactly.
Did you knock the ball off
I went
the tee on the next hole, too?
Oh, yeah. There's no chance I'm getting on it, too. I'm going to bunt it to here. I'm bunting it to there. I'm bunting it to the fat part of the green. I made my 5 on 13. I'm walking quietly to the next tee.
You got to do what you got to do. Maintain that dignity. We don't need to be going and marking more golf balls right now.
Yeah, solid 5. It was a solid 5.
Solid 5. Net 5.
Yeah. I'll take it. Yeah.
I got a question for you before we wrap this up.
We're reversing it.
I've got a question for you. Are you planning any sort of response for the what's the official name? The Club Pro Guy XE747 with camel toe technology. Is there a market for that?
I don't know. Well, in my opinion, that might be one of the greatest golf clubs ever invented. So the problem would be, like, at sub 70, I like to do stuff and, like, hopefully, like, make it as good or better than
make an actual golf club.
Yeah. Well, like, I want our stuff to perform as good or sometimes better. It's like, you think you can do that. Sort of like you're talking about, you walk with your chest out when you're playing professional golf. When I see that level of greatness of what he designed, and like how he thought about the camel toe technology and then using both sides of the club to improve the punch-out game. There is a level of genius in it, and I don't know if I could ever surpass what Club Pro Guy has come up with. So I'm kind of like stymied, right? Like I just tip my hat to him and say, well done, sir, because
like the bar's so high, you just know you can't jump there. Why?
I don't think I can do anything better than that, right? I mean, the camel toe technology is just genius. It's just outside the box thinking. It's another element I never even contemplated. But, you know, I also didn't play the Mexican mini tour for that many years being as successful. He's a smart guy. I mean, you don't get to that level without having, you know, some pretty deep thoughts and a high IQ. So I don't think I have an answer yet. I've been thinking about it, but it's just so good. And it can be utilized in such a great way that I just don't think I have an answer for it yet. I really don't, Pro.
I mean, without ripping it off, I think the sounding like an aluminum bat would be the one place that you could probably start on an improvement. From what I've heard, I showed my mom that video today, and even she loved it. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, and it's working for his clients too. Like the one gentleman said, he went down from a 36 to a 32. Right? I mean, to shave 4 strokes off your handicap, that's friggin' hard, man. That's hard work. All credit to him. You know,
nobody's thinking about the 4 shots it takes people to get out of the trees. You're just sitting there thinking about people hitting irons out of the fairway in the rough. I mean, come on, man. Get outside the box.
I'm thinking about this just in a traditional sense, and I just, you know, I kind of hit it straight. You know, like my game's been called like a poor man's Scott Verplank, and I mean that as a compliment to Scott Verplank if he does listen. So I'm not in the trees that often, so I just didn't see this one coming. It's genius.
It is
so I think I'm just going to let that one go and just say if somebody calls, you know, are you guys going to be coming up with anything like that? I'm just going to have to say we're not and order it from him. It's a, you know, there's Henry Fords, there's Elon Musks of the world, and then there's the Club Pro Guy. I put them all in the same category.
I wasn't expecting a release from you anytime soon. I just had to hear what you had to say.
Yeah, it's all as JJ would say, all credit to him. All credit to him. But the video is friggin' great.
Oh, that's
right.
There's no club without the video.
When he yells like automatic every time or something for the punch out for a net 4 or net 5, it's just genius. Like did you follow him early on when he would send when he wasn't even online? We were sending the letters out to the membership.
Oh yeah. I mean, I want to say early on. I don't know, 3-4 years. I've been on Twitter for as long as anybody. I feel like.
I mean, it was the first ones before you knew what he looked like or anything. When he was just sending letters to the membership, it was just. I mean, I remember they'd come out like once a quarter.
No, I don't think I was. I don't think I was in it that far back. Not in the mixtape phase.
Yeah, this must have been like in 2011 or 12. I've been on Twitter I think for like 10 years or something, and it was just genius. Like it was so funny, like literally. And I don't know who the guy is, but he had to be a golf pro or in the industry because it was such these. I'd read it to my wife, and she wouldn't find it funny at all. But this guy had to be in the golf business to know all these little nuances.
I am sworn to secrecy on that one, my friend. I'm proud to say that I know, but. I don't even want to know, right? Like, yes, I don't even want to know. But the letters were so funny, and the character he's developed, whoever it is, it's so brilliant. You know, with like the MILF Masters and all the invites he had. It's just endless. The superintendent's account is just Miguel. It's just an absolute gold mine. God, I can't even scroll through it without dying.
Yes, and the interactions they had, like when he had COVID and how he was going to deduct his pay, like it's so brutal. But like I have a warped sense of humor anyway, so like you know I gotta read that stuff.
Yes, hilarious.
Oh, it's the best. Like, and that's like fits in my sense of humor what I find funny. So like I think the stuff is great. Like, and I mean this, like it's awesome. Like he's done a hell of a job marketing it, and I think it's funny as hell. So
we need to be grateful to him as an industry that he's here and he's bringing out the funny side of golf for everybody to see.
I agree. Well, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. Get yourself healthy. It'll be fun. It'll be fun watching you kind of chase some Mondays out there, and watch you for hopefully getting in a few, and then Q School coming up, and like I said, you get all 8 cylinders rolling. Talent you have, my man. It's going to be fun to watch the ascension. I'll put it to you that way.
I appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to coming up to Chicago and seeing a new place once I get back in the swing of it.
Yeah, man. You're welcome anytime. We got an extra room in the house for you, and come hang out anytime you want. We'll go play some good golf around Chicagoland.
Looking forward to it, man.
All right, thanks, bro. Appreciate it.